Welcome to episode 10 of Run the Length. In honor of the 10th episode, we are changing up the format slightly. Instead of me playing and hearing my thoughts on the game, instead we have Pat VanValue and Alex Botts playing each other, and we will be hearing their thoughts throughout the game. Pat and Alex are two of the top players in the country, with Pat ranked second and Alex third. Pat and Alex select plots. Pat's plots are Sick'em, Who Are Ya, and Good Marker. Alex's plots are Brace for Impact, Heroic Landing, and Man Marking. The terrain on this board is two obstructions at the top, then moving down the screen we have Rough Terrain, a Barrier, another obstruction, and Fast Terrain. They blind select captains, and surprising no one, Alex picks Rage and Strongbox, with Pat selecting Tapper and Scum. Pat wins the roll to go first and chooses to receive. Alex opts to switch sides. As always, there is a link in the description that will allow you to skip the draft and get straight into the game. Pat's roster is Tapper, Esters, Scum, Friday, Hooper, Mash, Pint Pot, Spigot, Stoker, and Hemlock. Alex's roster is Blackheart, Vet Rage, Strongbox, Avarice and Greed, Benediction, Gutter, Harry the Hat, Minx, Mist, and Rage. Pat opens the draft with his linchpin player, Spigot. He has the speed buff and one of the damage buffs while also being the player with the highest damage output on the team. Check out Guild Ball Gotcha's episode 5 for more on short playbooks. Alex picks Mist, the best kickoff model he has access to. Pat picks Friday. Alex picks Avarice and Greed.
I drafted Avarice and Greed here. This was directly after the errata. I think, in retrospect, I would definitely avoid drafting Avarice and Greed into teams like Brewers. Avarice and Greed are both very vulnerable and influence hungry, so I think that it's very difficult for me to get consistent work out of them without them immediately dying and giving up 2 to 4 points after the fact.
Pat picks Hooper. Alex picks Benediction. Pat's final pick is Hemlock. Alex picks Gutter. Alex deploys. From top to bottom we have Avarice and Greed, Rage, Mist, Benny, Strongbox, and Gutter. Mist is kicking. Pat deploys. From top to bottom we have Friday, Scum, Tapper, Hooper, Spigot, and Hemlock. Alex goes for an aggressive kick, and it ends up landing on his side of the board, so Pat places the ball on Spigot. Pat allocates. He places 2 on Friday, 1 on Scum, 6 on Tapper, 1 on Hooper, 2 on Spigot, and 1 on Hemlock. Alex allocates. He places 1 on Avarice, 1 on Greed, 4 on Rage, 4 on Mist, 1 on Benediction, and 1 on Strongbox. Pat activates Spigot. Spigot jogs just in front of Tapper and Hooper, then tools up Tapper, and passes the ball to Friday. Pat doesn't do a teamwork action, since he is outside of Mist's threat range.
Despite having momentum, I decided not to heroic with Spigot here since I didn't expect to be able to use the ball to dodge other players due to Mist's threat range. I think this decision was a mistake, and I should have heroiced to at least leave open the possibility of threatening Mist.
Alex activates Benediction, jogs him up, and places Sturdy on Mist. Pat activates Hooper, and tough skins Tapper, then jogs forward. Alex activates Strongbox, jogs him up, and puts Confidence on Mist. Pat activates Scum. Scum uses Shadow-like and sprints towards the top of the pitch.
I tried to compromise between staying away from Mist and keeping Tactical Advice live for next turn with my cat placement, and as a result didn't do either very well. I think I needed to accept not having Tactical Advice and put Scum closer to the corner to make the ball truly difficult for Mist to get to.
Alex activates Gutter and jogs her forward. Pat activates Friday and passes to Scum. The pass is successful and Pat gains a momentum. Friday jogs up a bit. Alex activates Avarice and Greed. Greed uses Pick Me Up, then Avarice sprints up the pitch just in front of the wall. Pat activates Hemlock and jogs her towards the top of the screen, then places a poison AoE in front of Mist. Alex activates Rage. Rage sprints up the field into cover and uses Quick Time on Mist. Pat activates Tapper. Tapper puts up Commanding Aura and sprints to cover, but outside of the cat's tactical advice.
My placement of Tapper here was definitely bad. I feel like I should have kept him closer to the back of my team and out of cover to force Alex to choose between generating momentum with Mist and chasing the ball, instead of being able to do both at once as he was able to.
Alex activates Mist. Mist charges Tapper and uses Confidence to reroll his misses. The charge wraps by 1, but due to Tough Hide, the wrap doesn't accomplish anything. Mist does a momentous double dodge, moving towards the cat. Mist attacks Tapper again, completely missing the attack. Mist uses his last influence to attack Tapper and gets only one hit through and can't select a result that does anything. This ends the turn.
Despite the fact that this activation went poorly, I still feel like activating Mist here and doing what I attempted to do was the right call. I was intending to get engaged with the cat and win momentum for the start of turn 2 to go for a goal at the start of turn 2. Once this all went poorly for me, I should have immediately realized that I was in a bad spot and changed my thinking for the rest of the game to be defensive and about coming back into the game, rather than playing with an advantage that I felt I would have had if Mist's activation went to plan and I won initiative for turn 2.
Brewers lead the momentum race 2-1. Pat wins the initiative roll and chooses to go first. Pat allocates. He places 5 on Tapper, 2 on Friday, 2 on Hooper, 1 on Spigot, 2 on Hemlock, and 1 on Scum. Alex allocates. He places 4 on Rage, 3 on Avarice, 1 on Greed, and 4 on Mist.
This is the first of 2 times that I allocate a total of 4 influence to Avarice and Greed, with 3 on Avarice and 1 on Greed. In retrospect, I definitely need to allocate more to them. When you're playing in a standoff situation or in a situation where not all of your models will be able to use their influence for one reason or another, the models that do get to use their influence you need to commit to entirely. Not only that, but a 5 influence allocation to Avarice and Greed in total keeps Greed a lot safer. Even if Avarice dies, Greed simply stays with him rather than also dying on the pitch or being completely abandoned to die later. When you're playing models like Avarice and Greed that have a high upside but also a very low downside, you need to be able to commit to them entirely, and this was not an efficient allocation, as you'll see, either for this turn or the following turn, where a 5th influence on Avarice and Greed would have helped me keep them a lot safer and wouldn't really have hurt any of my other activations for either turn, in my opinion.
Pat activates Tapper. Tapper attacks Mist, and Alex declares a counterattack. Tapper knocks down Mist. Tapper's second swing does Commanding Aura. Tapper's third attack does Momentous Push, and Pat pushes Mist out of cover. Tapper jogs to re-engage Mist. Tapper takes his 4th attack against Mist, dealing 3 damage. Tapper's last attack wraps by 1, dealing 6 damage. Alex activates Mist, forfeits movement to stand up, uses acrobatics to move toward the top of the screen, and attacks Tapper, but misses him. Mist attacks again and gets a momentous dodge, moving out of Tapper's melee range and engages the cat. Mist spends his last influence attacking the cat and tackles the ball. Alex heals Mist. Pat activates Friday, uses Shadow-like, and jogs to get into melee with Mist. He uses Get Over Here Scum to pull the cat over to engage Mist. Friday attacks Mist and tackles the ball. Friday takes her second attack and deals 2 damage. Alex activates Strongbox and jogs him around the barrier. Pat activates Hemlock and jogs her behind Spigot and Hooper. She then throws a Poison Cloud at Avarice, hitting it.
Giving Hemlock influence to Noxious Blast seemed like a good idea, and while she's usually safe that turn, she's frequently difficult to activate early in the turn, which makes her vulnerable in following turns. This is a trade-off I didn't appreciate at the time, and now think having the influence on another player with more activation flexibility would have been preferable.
Alex activates Benediction and jogs him forward. Pat activates Scum, Shadow-likes slightly, and attacks Mist, doing 2 damage. Alex activates Gutter and moves her up to threaten Hooper. Alex activates Spigot, uses Tooled Up on Hooper, puts up his heroics Times Called, and jogs over towards Scum. Alex activates Rage. Rage uses QuickTime on himself and charges Hooper. This wraps by 1, but again, due to Tough Hide, the wrap does not accomplish anything. The end result is 2 momentous damage and a push. Rage pushes Hooper towards Avarice. Rage buys his second attack and does 1 momentous damage push, moving him closer to Avarice. Rage's last attack does nothing due to Tough Hide. Pat activates Hooper and jogs away from Avarice, but stays in Rage's melee range. Hooper buys an attack at Rage. His attack does Momentous Push. His second attack does Momentous Push again.
I think my Hooper activation in this turn is the biggest mistake so far. I would have been far better off pushing Rage out of melee and then jogging back towards Tapper and the rest of the team. While this would free Rage to charge Hooper, in doing so he comes into the rest of my team, which is a positioning win for me, and doesn't even kill Hooper in one activation without a second player engaging him to turn on Bloody Coin.
Alex activates Avarice. Avarice sprints towards Hooper and drops Greed. Greed jogs into melee with Hooper and attacks. This does Momentous Singled Out. This ends the turn. The momentum race is tied 3-3, and Pat wins the roll. Pat chooses to activate first. Pat allocates. He places 2 on Scum, 2 on Friday, 6 on Tapper, 2 on Spigot, and 1 on Hemlock. Alex activates. He places 4 on Rage, 3 on Avarice, 2 on Mist, 1 on Greed, and 2 on Gutter. Pat activates Scum. Scum uses Shadow-like to leave Mist's melee range. Pat reveals Sick'em to have Scum charge Mist, dealing Momentous 2. Scum's second attack does a Momentous Push. Scum's final attack does Momentous 2, taking out Mist. Score is now 2-0. Alex activates Avarice and Greed. Greed walks to engage Hemlock. Avarice walks to engage Hemlock. Greed attacks Hemlock, but misses the attack. Avarice attacks Hemlock and does Momentous 3 damage knockdown. Avarice's second attack does Momentous 4. Alex bonus times Avarice's last attack and momentously takes out Hemlock. Score is now 2-2. Pat activates Tapper. Tapper sprints over to Avarice, engaging both him and Greed. Tapper attacks Avarice and does a Momentous knockdown. Tapper buys an attack on Avarice again and wraps by 2, putting up Commanding Aura and dealing 1 damage. Tapper's third attack goes at Greed, dealing 2 damage. Tapper's fourth attack goes at Greed again, dealing Momentous 4 damage. Tapper's final attack does Momentous 4 to Greed, killing him. Score is now 4-2. Tapper uses Old Jakes on Spigot.
Early in this turn, I've already made 2 mistakes. I should have known I would be unable to activate Hemlock safely and should have allocated that influence to Hooper instead. Second, with Avarice and Greed already activated and near Tapper, there's no real activation pressure to attack them. They're stuck there for the rest of the turn. I should have been more conscious of this and moved Hooper towards the rest of the team, away from Rage and Gutter, which would force Rage deep into the fight if he wants to spend his influence that turn.
Alex activates Gutter and charges Hooper. Gutter wraps by 1, but Tough Hide prevents the wrap from mattering, and Gutter chain grabs Hooper. Gutter clears conditions on Avarice. Pat activates Hooper. Hooper heals. Alex activates Benediction, jogs him forward to engage Hooper. Pat activates Friday. Friday uses Shadow-like and a sprint to get within 10 inches of the goal. She uses her Heroic, Shoot Better after a beer, and shoots on goal. Friday hits a Screamer. Score is now 8-2. Alex kicks the ball back in over by Strongbox. Alex activates Strongbox and jogs him toward Hooper. Pat activates Spigot. Spigot jogs to melee with Avarice and attacks. Spigot wraps to the 2 and deals 2 damage and knocks down Avarice. Spigot's second attack wraps to the 4, dealing 6 damage and generating 2 momentum for Pat. Spigot's third attack does 6 damage. Spigot's final attack scores 9 hits, wrapping twice, dealing 7 damage and killing Avarice. Score is now 10-2. Alex activates Rage and uses his heroic Bloody Coin on himself. Rage buys an attack against Hooper. Rage's attack does 3 momentous damage. Rage attacks again and Pat declares a counterattack. Rage's second attack does 4 damage. Pat's counter misses. Rage attacks again, dealing 3 momentous damage. Rage's fourth attack does a knockdown. This ends the turn. Pat leads the momentum race 13-3, guaranteeing him the initiative. Pat chooses to go first. Pat jogs Hemlock back onto the pitch at the bottom of the screen, touching the fast terrain for extra speed. Pat allocates 5 to Tapper, 4 to Friday, 2 to Spigot, and 3 to Hemlock. Alex jogs Mist, Avarice, and Greed back on the board in the bottom of the screen. Alex allocates 4 to Gutter, 4 to Benediction, and 4 to Rage. Pat activates Tapper and jogs him to melee with Gutter and Rage. Tapper attacks Gutter. Alex declares a counterattack. Tapper's attack only does 1 damage. Alex's counterattack knocks Tapper down.
Choosing to attack Gutter here was a significant mistake and a risk I didn't need to take. The position worked out so that if I wanted to jog to engage Rage, I had to be engaging Gutter as well. Since I was only able to allocate 5 influence to Tapper, the jog seemed preferable at the time. But given the opportunity to play the situation again, I think it would have been correct to charge Rage instead and stay out of Gutter's melee zone. While this likely wouldn't kill Rage, it would put him in a dangerous position for the rest of my team to finish him off and force Alex to deal with that.
Tapper's activation went really poorly here. Whenever something like this is gifted to you by dice or a mistake on the part of the opposing player, you need to be able to consider where you are in the state of the game immediately and change tactics right away. So it was an important consideration for me to realize that I was suddenly in control of the game, and I needed to play such that I took total control of the game here. Part of that is activating Rage and immediately killing Tapper and setting up the legendary play for the rest of my team, or the rest of my influence that is already allocated to Benediction and Gutter.
Alex activates Rage, pops legendary, and charges Tapper. Rage's charge does 4 damage. Rage's second attack does 4 damage. Rage's third attack does 3 momentous damage. Rage's fourth attack does 3 momentous damage. His final attack wraps by 1, killing Tapper and gaining 3 momentum for Alex. Alex plays Man Marking. The score is now 10-4. Pat activates Hemlock. Hemlock jogs over to the ball and kicks it towards Alex's goal. Hemlock then throws a Noxious Blast onto Avarice, Mist, and Greed. She only hits Avarice. Alex activates Gutter. He jogs Gutter in such a way that Hooper is in her melee range and Friday is within 6 inches. Gutter attacks Hooper. Gutter wraps by 1, doing a momentous chain grab to Friday and 1 momentous damage to Hooper. Gutter's second attack goes on Hooper again and does a Scything Blow. Gutter's third attack wraps by 1 and does Scything Blow and 1 damage. Alex bonus times Gutter's final attack and kills Hooper and puts 3 damage onto Friday with Scything Blow. Score is now 10-6. Pat activates Friday. Friday uses Shadow-like to move to the edge of Gutter's melee range and takes a Parting Blow with a sprint. Alex bonus times the Parting Blow and also benefits from the Turtle's aura. Gutter knocks down Friday. Alex activates Benediction. Benediction charges Spigot, doing a momentous double push. Alex uses bonus time on Benediction's second attack, which does 4 damage. Benny's final attack is also bonus timed and knocks down Spigot. Pat activates Spigot and stands him up. The Turtle jogs to engage Friday. Pat activates Scum and does nothing. Mist jogs towards the ball. Avarice and Greed activate jogging up a bit. Avarice heals Mist. This ends the turn.
As I said before, this was a huge mistake moving forward once I was in control of the game. I needed to realize that after I killed Tapper, which I felt I needed to do this turn, Tapper would come back on and immediately threaten Avarice and Greed, both of whom are very easy for Tapper to kill as long as he can get close to them. With that in mind, I needed to move Avarice and Greed backwards. There was no reason for me to try to threaten Hemlock because I couldn't allocate any influence over to this side of the field without giving up some pressure on the other side of the field. And on top of that, my path to victory, my path to 12 points was fairly clear with the takeouts that were still available to me on the other side of the field and also the goal that I could eventually take with Mist and his team.
Alex is leading the momentum race 6-0, guaranteeing him the initiative. Alex chooses to go first. Alex allocates 4 to Rage, 2 to Gutter, 2 to Mist, 3 to Avarice, and 1 to Greed. Pat jogs Hooper and Tapper back on at the bottom of the screen. Pat allocates 2 to Scum, 3 to Spigot, 4 to Friday, and 5 on Tapper. Alex activates Rage. Rage charges Friday, but forgets she is knocked down, so he only deals 2 damage and a 1-inch push. Rage puts Bloody Coin on Gutter, revealing Heroic Landing to refund the cost. Then uses Red Fury to make her attack Spigot. Gutter's attack wraps, and she does Scything Blow and 2 damage to Spigot. The Scything Blow also hits Friday and Benediction. Friday dies in the Turtle aura, generating an extra momentum. The score is now 10-8. Rage uses Red Fury on Gutter again. Alex bonus times the attack. The attack wraps to the 1, and Gutter does 5 damage. Rage makes Gutter attack again, killing Spigot. The score is now 10-10. Rage then spends 2 momentum to heal Benediction. Pat activates Tapper. Tapper declares a charge on Avarice. Alex declares a defensive stance and a counterattack to prevent him from going after Greed. The charge attack puts up Commanding Aura. Alex cannot take his counter since Tapper is not in his melee. Tapper attacks again and Pat bonus times the attack, dealing 3 damage. Pat bonus times the third attack and gets a wrap to the 1, dealing 4 damage. Tapper's last attack gets bonus timed and deals 3 damage, leaving Avarice on 1. Alex activates Avarice and Greed. Avarice heals himself. Alex jogs Avarice into base contact with Hemlock, and Greed into melee with her as well. This is Alex's first game with the new Avarice and Greed, and he mistakenly jogs Greed 4 inches, despite his movement being 3. Avarice attacks Hemlock, dealing 2 damage and a knockdown. Greed attacks Hemlock and wraps by 1, dealing 1 damage and singled out. Avarice attacks again and takes out Hemlock, winning the game for Alex. Final score, 10-12. This game had a massive turning point where Pat got mildly greedy and tried to knock down Gutter and failed. Without this mistake, combined with Pat's bad roll, I'm not sure how Alex gets back into this game. But I think this is an excellent example of exploiting a mistake and turning a losing game around. But here I would like to pass the question on to you. Did you enjoy the change to the format? Would you have made different decisions during the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit the subscribe button to know the moment I upload a new video. Support me on Patreon, and share this with your friends. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.